I was Wasteland head coach Mike Salmons, coach season number 100. And it's one of those, we've talked about it a couple of times. You kind of kid, you said, we're not going to be around for the 200th, but it's one of those once in a lifetime opportunities, and you got to really grab a hold of that.
Yeah, I mean, season 100 only comes around, every so often, once a century. And a lot of teams, a lot of programs never even see a season 100. And so that in itself is a privilege. And so that's a big part of who we are and what we're doing. And we're trying to, respect our heritage and make sure not only with the heritage that, we make it proud. And we always talk about with tradition comes responsibility. And so, we are responsible. You've heard me before, old record, but nobody wants to let go of the rope. Nobody wants to be the one that people point to and say that's the group or that's the people or the time that the program slipped. And so our guys take a lot of pride in that. And we're really excited to, we've kind of built this up, since 1926. And, we're really excited to get to the start line and see where the journey goes.
I've talked to several of the seniors, and one of the things I've talked about them, I said, you guys don't know what it's like to not go to school on the first Friday in December. Yeah. It's because you're playing for a state championship. And when you have a group like that, like you said, that has been pulling that rope, nobody wants to let go, and it's something that's very ingrained inside that locker room.
Yeah, and so I think with that culture, it just becomes part of who you are. And I told someone in some interview along the way, preseason 100, and you get a lot of interviews preseason. I said, old guys are working to get better every day and set the standard, but they're showing the standard to the young guys. And so that's really what it's about. And even 3 years ago, guys were showing them the way. And so there's no doubt there's an expectation. We don't really talk about, results or wins or losses or whatever. We talk about, how do you get them? And that's the big thing. How do you get results? And it's the input that leads to the process. And so that's kind of how we've been driven. Our guys know that, and every single day we work that and try to move forward. And we got 12 seniors who've been a big part of that. I'm sure they want nothing else but to play on the last day of the season, and nothing would make their journey any more pleasurable than to change silver to gold. But you just don't wake up on August 12th and say, hey, that's the goal. There's a process to get there, and we're obviously immersed in that every day and trying to get better every day.
Getting so close last year, coming up there on that last drive, just come up a little bit short. But how much have you noticed in the offseason, in the weight room, that being a drive of motivation for those guys that want to try to get over that hump?
Yeah, so I think along the way we've got closer and closer and closer. And, what defines our season, those seasons, is how we react to the adversity. How do we come through those dark moments that there's some places that get dark. I mean, people forget, middle of September, we were 1-3. I don't know if they were ready to run us out of town or not, but we were 1-3. And that is the facts of the matter. And so, how do you come out of that dark place really defines your season. And so obviously our guys were very resilient a year ago. We expect this group to be the same, but those moments will define us. And so as you go into that game or those adversities to get to that game or that you face in that game or any big game along the way, you got to make sure your team's prepared to react the same way, the correct way. And, our guys, this group hasn't been put in those moments. They've been put in it with different groups, but every group is different. No two groups are the same. And so we'll find out real soon how we react.
One of the things you talk about in your program, brick by brick.
Yeah.
How much of those bricks from last year do you use that as a foundation for this team to build on?
Yeah, so a lot of guys really have a strong foundation and the name on the front of the chest. And those guys, we have these program guys that, quite honestly, that maybe not even you even heard of. You're in the halls every day, the guys that lay those bricks and just wait for an opportunity. The guys that, I think over time, I don't want to mention names because I'll miss somebody, but guys that are just dying and immersed in the process for an opportunity. That's all they want. And if they get it, they're going to seize it. And so those are the guys that, really get you excited, right? I mean, obviously some of our guys are heralded. We got some really talented players. There's no question about that. But the guys that make your team make or break are those program guys, those guys that really lay those bricks, those guys that are really foundation, program, team first guys that just want to serve their teammates. And if we can get in that service leadership mode where our team pulls for each other and we serve the rest of the body, I think we're 53 deep now, and everybody's serving the rest of the crew, the potential is exponential.
I was talking with Carson Bowden just a little bit ago, and one of the things he was talking about is that offensive line. They're one unit. Mm-hmm. And with what you guys want to do this year, you've got a collection of backs that you can run the football, but you've got a quarterback that can sling it all over the field. You got to take care of those guys behind them.
Yeah, so our offensive line, there's a lot of experience there. There's 2 or 3 seniors there that kind of, have a lot of experience, actually 4 now that I think about it. There's some young guys that are really pushing to get in that mix. I think with our offensive line too this year, we probably have more depth than maybe what we've had in the past. We're not going to play just 5 guys. We're going to play 8-ish. plus or minus 1 or maybe even 2. I mean, there's some, we're in the preseason here, so there's still some evaluation going on. And, we are very, very blessed with size. We have big offensive and defensive linemen and guys that are really competing. And so I think, we always talk about no line, no shine, right? So if our offensive and defensive line don't lead the way for us, we'll never meet our potential. And so that's how we're going to be built. We'll be built in the trenches on the line of scrimmage. And again, everybody, this day and era, everybody gets fired up about this play or this offense. You got to be able to block, tackle, and take care of the ball. If you do those 3 things, then our goals will be in front of us. And if we lose sight of those 3 things, we will get derailed as fast as anybody else.
Talking about the running backs, you've got a collection of them, but some of the names, Landon Stiltner, who looks to be back and healthy again, Shannon Marucci, who really jumped in and kind of seized the moment last year. Landon Bloss is a punishing back that has really changed his body. And you got some other younger guys that's in there that's pushing as well, to where you've got fresh bodies throughout 4 quarters of football that you can get the football to.
Yeah, obviously those guys, Shannon and Landon coming back from a year ago, 2 Landons actually. But there's some other guys in the mix here that can really help us. I think the other night we had 6 or 8 guys run the ball. Whether, of course, you know about John Arnett, returning guy from a year ago. And I think what really defines our team maybe the most, and I give you credit for this, we didn't have a 500-yard rusher last year until Black Friday. We were standing on Black Friday and didn't have a 500-yard rusher. Now that's probably unfathomable. I don't know, what kind of odds would have been on that, but it had to be long, right? And so really, this is some of our parts. That's who we are. Obviously we feel like those guys are premier high school running backs, and we expect them to produce. But, it wouldn't surprise me if they go some Friday nights where they don't get as many carries. The guys get touches and maybe they're playing more defense, or maybe the game dictates that, we need to put the ball in the air with Jake more, or whatever the game flow is, or maybe whatever our game plan is that night. You kind of play the chess match with the defense, but those guys are really talented. I think there's some power in numbers there and really interchange them. And, we talk about body blows. Hopefully when you get to the 40th and 42nd and 44th and, there's 48 minutes for a reason. Hopefully it really starts wearing on guys.
Jake, what have you noticed with his progression from when he took the reins as a full-time QB1 last year to where he starts this year?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest differences in our football team is Jake Waller. Just so much more confident than where he was a year ago at this time. A year ago at this time, he wasn't the quarterback. We were playing 2 guys and trying to figure that out, but he's so much more confident who he is, number 1. Number 2, what he can do and what we want, and then how to lead the team. And I think that's probably the biggest quality that's helped him is, because you can't lead every kid the same way. A certain kid may need to be led vocally, where another kid may need to led by example or by on the board, or maybe outside the white lines or inside the white lines. And I think that's really what's helped him elevate his game. And when he walks in the locker, when he walks in the huddle, he doesn't command respect, he's earned it. And so that goes a long way. When he won that respect last year at Highlands, our football team took off. There was no secret. I told you that the other day. Our football team changed that night. I knew when I got on the bus to come home, we were 1-3, and we had a chance. I didn't know what the chance was and how it would all shake out, but I knew we weren't dead in the water like everybody else. We had a chance. We had a puncher's chance. Obviously, credit to our guys for taking advantage of that. And this year, I think Jake is so much more advanced, so much more ahead. He didn't start for 4 or 5 games, but then he got 10 starts. So that's a big part of it. The game is just slower for him. And so I'm really proud of him and what he's been able to do. Obviously, our offense will produce as he leads the way. And he knows that. He relishes that. He takes the command. He knows he's a quarterback. And with that comes responsibility. He's excited to lead our team. Defensively, you guys play a 3-4,
and it's no secret, and I've talked about this so many times, those front 3 guys, they're unheralded, but the guys that reap the benefits are those 4 linebackers, and it seems like every year we're talking about a group of linebackers, and then you graduate, and there's another group coming, but these 4 linebackers that's going to play back there, they got a ton of experience, and they are hungry to get after the football.
Yeah, so we really value running the ball. It's one thing we really practice and really hone on, trying to get a lot of orange hats to the football. Our defensive line are really warriors in the sense that they got to serve their team. They got to make sure they get the ball out of there and get the ball to the linebackers. Now, hopefully along the way they can make a few plays, but it's really trying to get the ball out of there so we don't get beat in the creases and let guys run, sideline to sideline, and our linebackers really run them down. And obviously we return Logan Lockwood in the middle, kind of the spearhead captain of our front 7, and he'll lead the way in the box there. And there's some guys fighting for time. We do return, 2 guys on the D-line with some other guys with some experience. Returned 3 linebackers with some guys with some experience behind them and guys fighting for time. And so we really got a good situation here with a lot of guys trying to squeeze in, and we can really push the buttons offense and defense to keep guys fresh. And that's really what it's about. And different weeks, I think, will be different matchups. Maybe teams have a tight end and we need to play a little bigger people. Maybe teams are spread and we need to play more skill guys in space. And so I think we can really attack people in different ways. And it all starts on the line of scrimmage.
Something that we've talked about this year, and it's kind of a funny model that you've got, have bus will travel. You're going to put a lot of miles on the Yellow Dog this year. And you talked with me the other day, said this is the first time that you know of that a Yellow Dog's ever gone to Louisville and it not be in the postseason.
Yeah, so 6 road games, 2 local, 4 on the road. Those 4, lengthy games, 2 hours, 2 3 hours. And we've been to Louisville the last 2 years in the playoffs. So whatever it takes, I think there's some solace in getting away from home and getting uncomfortable, getting in an environment where it's really you, it's your coaches and your brothers, and you're back against the wall and you're in some small locker room in the middle of nowhere in Kentucky, and you got to go figure it out. I think there's some value in that, and our guys buy into that. It's kind of a blue collar, Eastern Kentucky Railroad mentality, kind of who we are, and we will travel. We will gladly travel in November or December, wherever they let us go or allow us to go, as long as we earn our way. But we're looking forward to getting in those environments. And, we've been west, we've been north, we've been south, and we're going all those ways again. But now let's go a little further west. And let's see how it goes for us. And really excited about that opportunity.
Coach, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you this season.
Thanks, James. Appreciate it.
Mike Salmons from Raceland Football.